Walking around like this. No, please don't. Yes. Did anybody else dry out? Like my skin got so dry.
During pregnancy or after
Right
childbirth?
after. Everyone told me I'd be super dry. After I had someone says the baby takes all the good stuff. Like, you know.
Yes, they do.
So once you have the baby, you look like you've been in a fight and lost. And so they take everything, all your moisture. So I was the driest I had ever been in my life. Like every lotion I used, it wouldn't work. I was just ashy all over. I had never had that before. And then my cousin's like, the baby takes it.
Yeah. I lost a bit of hair actually after I gave birth. And nobody told me that was going to happen.
It was hair and
shedding
teeth for me.
And it was just, but it was in like large chunks. It was like my body was like this pristine, perfect capsule while I was pregnant. And as soon as I gave birth, everything just reversed.
This is something no one told me. Did you guys breastfeed?
Yes.
Okay, so I did the whole lactation thing. My mom's like, you sure you want to do that? I was like, yeah, Mom. Well, how you going to know how much the baby gets? I said, well, the baby will let you know if the baby wants some. What I learned is you can weigh the baby before and after to know how much the baby
I learned that too.
I never knew that.
Yeah, because otherwise my mom said, well, if you had a bottle, well, why don't you pump? And then we know how much the baby's getting. Because you can see it in the bottle. But once I talked to the lactation person, she said, no, you weigh the baby before, you weigh the baby after. And if there's so many ounces larger, that's how much more.
That's exactly.
I've
It was
never
incredibly
heard that
relieving.
before.
As
That
soon as
is
I did, I went,
So cool.
oh,
Because otherwise you're freaking out.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know how much you got. I couldn't feel a thing.
That is awesome.
So you were able to like see, okay, the baby weighs 6 pounds and then put it as like 6.2 pounds?
Exactly.
I didn't know that. I wish I'd known that.
My whole, because you know, everybody got an opinion once you have a baby.
Exactly.
I know this. So uncles who don't say nothing got an opinion.
Oh, yeah, right.
Suddenly.
Right? Uncles who you used to be shy about have seen you rip out the nipple. They see you, you know, like there's just no humbleness anymore once you have the baby, right? So I did not know that once, so I didn't know, first of all, I didn't know how great it was to have large nipples because baby latches on and you're good to go. Because apparently some children don't latch on and people have difficulty. Didn't have any of that. Milk comes in. I did not know this. I did not know breastfeeding my daughter would cause pain in my V.
Oh yeah, and nobody tells you that at first.
Nobody told me that.
It's when your uterus starts to contract.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So the first time it's like, oh, this is the second time.
Yeah, it was pain. It was painful for me.
Right.
And then you don't want to take pain medication because then it goes into your breast milk.
Right.
So you're sitting there kind of like, you know, you're trying to gauge what you can take and what you can't. Now it only happened maybe a day or two.
Yeah,
and then
it
after
was-
that it
it
kind of
was
went
done.
away. But not prepared at all. No one told
Before
me
that day or two, you're kind of in this shock of what is this going on? I thought I just went through all of this.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And then it happens all over again. Something else, sitz bath.
Oh yeah.
Nobody talks about the sitz bath. My cousin's like, what is a sitz bath? I was like, you ain't lived till you had a sitz bath. Right? Okay, so for those of you who do not know what a sitz bath is, how do you explain it? It's like
It's
Water that only comes up to...
You sit
right.
just right
to
around.
cover your
Yeah.
cover your V.
yeah, it's like a little portable thing that you literally sit in with warm water. Sometimes you can do
Epsom
salt. Yeah, Epsom salt.
And
And
put herbs
baking
in it
soda.
sometimes,
Herbs.
too.
And the goal is to relieve some of the pain in the V area after birth.
And the inflammation and the swelling and all of that.
But it is
It's
the
very
best
relieving.
feeling in the world. After I gave birth, I actually called my OBGYN and I said, something is not right. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, something ain't right. It just don't feel right. And he's like, well, everything went well, not including the episiotomy, right? Because you tear and all that stuff. So I was like, it just didn't feel right. And I said, and he's like, well, we'll see if we can get you in. So he gets me in, puts me in the stirrup, looks, and he's like, ain't nothing wrong with you, you fine. I was like, this is how I'm supposed to feel? He's like, yeah, you're fine. It has not felt the same since. And so I told him, I was like, you don't have enough pamphlets in your waiting room telling folks about all this. And so he was like, well, Tracy, if we did that, people wouldn't give birth.
Yeah, and I disagree. I think they're giving women not enough credit. I think if we knew, we'd still do it. We
Right,
just
just
know
know what to expect.
When you think you've got a handle on one thing, something else happens. You think you got a handle on that, then something else happens, and then you still have a newborn that you're trying to take care of. Yeah. So there's a lot mentally that happens within a very short period of time.
Which is, I can see, like, a lot of women have postpartum.
Yes.
Did any of you have postpartum? I didn't have anything.
Still working.
Really? Well, I can see why. I think it's a lot to take on in a short time frame. and most times you're not prepared for it, or maybe.
And there's not a real direct answer for everybody's situation, because everybody's a little different. So your mom could tell you, well, this is how I did it, but that's not necessarily going to be exactly what you experienced. It doesn't mean it's not helpful, but it might not be an exact answer for you. And not having those answers and still feeling overwhelmed can be pretty hard on a new mom.
I was so busy pursuing career that I wasn't thinking about. I mean, I knew I wanted children, but when I was 40 giving birth and I saw my 20-some-year-old cousin who was almost doing flips and like she's like doing jumping jacks because she's just like do. I thought if I had to do it over again, I probably would have tried to have them a little younger.
I can tell you that because I've given birth in my 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Uh-oh.
So in my 20s, that snapback that they talk about, that's a real thing. I gave birth and put my jeans right on and kept it moving. Like seriously, in my 20s. But my baby that I had in my 40s, it wasn't quite the same. I'm like, this belly is not going away. It's still here. What is happening? Okay, I know in a week I'll be able to put my jeans back on. It was still there, and it just wouldn't necessarily go away. My body was different. I recovered a little bit differently than I did when I was in my 20s, and I definitely felt it. I recovered, but it took a lot longer than it did before.
No one told me how engorged your breast would be.
Oh, yeah.
Well, no one tells you that you can be out and you might not be with your baby, and another baby starts crying,
Yes, nobody tells you that. As soon as you hear a baby crying, like,
yes, right. I know. I'm walking around like this. No, please don't. Yes, it happens. Yeah.
Did you guys get the tingle that you feel?
Yes,
like
you know it's coming
before it actually
Yes,
starts happening,
yes.
and you're like, it's about to start.
about to go down.
And I try to keep it in. If I hold the nipples, maybe it will just go away.
How beautiful is it? We did a story on that when babies are sick, the mother's breast milk changes to give the baby what it needs when they have a fever or whatnot.
Based on their saliva and the brain's like, oh, okay, it needs this, so it's just crazy.
Look at God.
I am so much more appreciative of my body now than I was then. Because I'm like, this is useful. This is purposeful. You know, like, and I used to go, like, when I was younger, I would get sanitary napkins and I'd be in the line at the checkout and I'd be all embarrassed. And now I'm like,
that's right.
Can I get those, please?
Toss it on there.
Look what I can do.
I have no shame anymore. But probably the last thing we want to end on anything and we touched on today, anything about, you know, now that you're a mom and had your baby, what you've learned about yourself during this whole thing, this mommy journey that we're on.
I think a lot of times moms don't think they're enough. And we are. God created us the way that we are to be enough for our children. And we're enough at that moment for what they need, especially when your heart is in the right place. If you're a good mom by nature, then you'll be the best mom that you need to be for your baby.
Yeah. We're hard on ourselves.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
Okay, Jordan, you're up.
Yeah, that's I don't know. It's kind of, I guess, a touchy subject for me because I am in the current struggle, you know, with postpartum and all of that. So it's hard. It sucks.
But does it help to talk about it today?
It does. I love my daughter with all my heart and everything that I have, you know, but God, if it isn't a fight.
Really?
Not to love her, but just to
getting through.
Just to keep going, get up out of bed after you've been frustrated because you couldn't sleep, or you're frustrated because she's teething and hurting and you feel like you can't do anything. So wondering if you're doing everything right.
Is there anything they advise you to do, like exercise help? Does getting out more help?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, they say exercise is the best medicine that you can have, but also forcing myself to have the motivation to do that. You know, it's hard, but she's 7 months working on it, working through it. So, but yeah.
Okay. All right, Brittany, when do you do this week?
Yeah, Friday.
So when this airs, you will have given birth.
At that point, yeah, that's the goal. If I don't, there's gonna be a problem.
Anything you plan on doing differently this time, or are you just gonna let Mother Nature do what she does?
Well, I'm gonna try and let Mother Nature do what it does. You know, I'll encourage as much as I can, but in a natural way. This is the longest time I've ever been pregnant, so I've gone this far this time. So this has been a different experience where I'm struggling. Like, am I doing everything right? And I think in the past I felt like I had a good handle on it because I had my plan and everything worked really well, and everything's working well now too. It's just long. So I think after I give birth, I will enjoy the moment with my, well, it's a boy this time, so with my son, and just be happy that we made it through the journey and I kept my head about me. And I think that overall my experience with motherhood after giving birth and having my children is how amazingly unique every single child is, and how much they make you grow. And I think that's been the best experience, is that you didn't realize how much you would change as a person in some way until you have that baby as a little one, and then they become something a little different, and then suddenly you have this child that's got its own opinion and its own likes and needs, and you're like, whoa, who are you?
Well, I'm gonna give what I think helped me, and then we'll have to wrap everything up. But having my daughter has made me more empathetic to others. I did not realize how, you're younger, you're selfish, you're self-serving, you're only thinking about you. I realize that when I'm traveling and I see a mom with babies, I'm like, what do you need? Can I help you with something? Can I go get something? I was not that woman before. Before I was like, oh, I hope she's not sitting near me. And I would cringe. Now I see moms in the grocery store, and I'm like, do you need? But I think people are a little cautious because they don't know you, right? Because you're like, can I help you with something? Oh yeah, well, or I see a child drop something, I pick it up. I am much more loving universally than I used to be. And I tell girlfriends who are on the fence about having babies, I'm like, that baby's for you, because you learn so much more about yourself. You add layers. If someone's like running up on me driving, I'm like, she probably got a 2-year-old in the car. Let her go. So I give people a pass now. I'm a lot more loving, empathetic towards others.
Have a lot more grace.
I do. Yes. I have grace. I didn't used to wear grace before, and now I have it. And I know that I got that through childbirth, because I realized I'm not perfect, and I'm figuring it out, and we're all figuring it out.
And giving moms every so often that attaboy kind of thing, like, you're doing good, don't you worry about it.
And it makes nice a
every so often. You're like, oh, thank you so much.
Even if it's a wink in the store, or somebody just comes over and gives you a little nudge. It's almost like your mom giving you a hug. It's like, this little cult, this little club that we have. That's true. So thank you, mommies, for joining us today. This was nice. I feel like we had some therapy today. Anyway, you guys.